All right, welcome back. It's another installment of the wildly popular Ozzy and Keats podcast. We're not great, we're just okay. John Keating and Chris Osgood with you. We are going to be joined by the legendary now voice of the Detroit Red Wings, Ken Daniels, will be in our midst. And as we begin, this past week we invited people to reach out to us and suggest some questions that we could be asked on the podcast.
I thought these were your questions for me.
They're not my questions for you. They're questions from those who have enjoyed the podcast to share. And let me begin with one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long-ass question. There's a story attached to this. All right?
No.
This is from JD in Bel Air, Michigan. He says, you don't have to worry about, there is no content rhyming with Ripple in this story. There was a venue in Rochester Hills called America Pizza Cafe. They would host a live weekly edition of Inside Hockeytown with Mickey Redmond and a current player on the roster. My buddies and I would skip class at Oakland Community College and head down there to grab a slice of pizza, and 8 to 10 pitchers of beer.
8 to 10.
So we could grab an autograph and chat with the players. When it was Ozzy's turn to be there, we're so fired up. But at this point, I had officially broke the seal when he saw you and had to figure out how to get past Mick, Ozzy, and security so I could pee, or else the night was going to be ruined because chicks don't dig dudes with wet pants. He said, I casually snuck over by Mick, who sort of nodded. Mick took a peek around and waved me through. I made it to the bathroom. An employee said, this area is closed for a while, and all I could think of to say was, I'm a friend of Ozzy's. He nodded and let me through to pee. Once I made it inside the bathroom, there was Christopher John Osgood. I wanted to say, hey, Ozzy, you don't know me, but we are tight. Just roll with it, because I was going to pee my pants otherwise. Instead, I froze up, handled my business, and snuck out to my seat. I just wanted to say thanks, Ozzy, for letting me ride on your name. You saved my pants, literally.
I do remember those days of doing those. Mickey Redmond, for sure. I remember Mickey Redmond
Inside
travels
Hockey
too.
Town,
That's
yeah.
Inside
America
Hockey
Pizza
Town.
Cafe.
Yeah, doing that. I remember we were times celebrity bartenders. We did a lot of stuff then, early 90s, mid 90s, all the time, and they're fun. I mean, I felt like and now saying it's easy.
You saved a guy's pants.
But it's saying
God bless you for
the
doing
connection with
We
fans
appreciate your service. Thank you for your service.
I try and do my best all the time. You know, I'm helping you as much as I can now in your retirement. It's tough. The 3 calls a day are getting a little bit tiresome. The 8:30 call, the 12:30 call, and the 2:30. It's wherever he is at happy hour in certain
my
areas.
goodness.
But yeah, it was
Happy hour starts a little earlier when you're retired. I'm finding that
it does.
out.
Does
yeah,
this?
yeah. We don't have to wait for 4 o'clock or whatever.
Next thing you know, it's going to be 8 a.m. on the deck. But and it's easy for me to say because we won, so there's a connection with the fans. I feel more so than there is now. Can I say that? Yeah. But we're out lots with them. I mean, remember being at certain establishments and hanging out with fans after games and talking hockey, and for the most part, everybody was great. So yeah, doing that stuff was fun.
All right, when you were a younger man, give me your top 2 or 3 establishments that you might pop into, or where they knew you pretty well because you were single at the time.
My first place I lived was in Farmington Hills with Drapes, and we would go to Mr. Sports. Is that on Orchard Lake Road, I believe?
Okay.
And we go there quite a bit.
Probably not around anymore,
No,
I don't think.
I doubt it. That's where I met my wife, Jenna, actually. Played bubble hockey against her. You ever play bubble hockey with a girl? Sometimes you can get a pretty good view. Can I say that? Since we're on this
well, you married her, so I guess it's okay. So
she had overalls on; they fit good. I do remember that. I remember everything.
We have to book Jenna Osgood.
No, we
this.
don't.
Oh my goodness, all the stories.
We'd hang out at Wild Woodies too. I can't remember where that was.
Another legendary
I wanted to say
spot,
Gratiot,
right?
maybe.
Yeah.
Am I right about that? We were never like a big, because we're Canadian, so we like little pubs.
Yeah.
You know, you're Irish, right? So your pubs, bars, little homey places. So we looked for more of that. Then I went from Farmington Hills to downtown. So I'd be remiss to say where we hung out there. On Cass Street,
right?
The Post.
The Post.
And
Anchor.
The Anchor Bar was there.
Right, yeah.
I would be not right if I didn't say Nemo's, who had one of the best burgers. Tiger Stadium's right there.
Right.
Hang out, they had everything on the wall. Great people there as well. That's the one I missed because there's so many.
There'll be owners saying,
can I
what
get
about
to all
my
these?
place?
Oh, the show's an hour and a half long.
Dick O'Dowd's in Birmingham.
Then
was
I moved
another
to
spot.
Birmingham.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And
that opened up a whole new venue for you, a whole new horizon for you of people to meet.
Was Dick O'Dowd's, and I believe that was the main spot. And then now this is ironic in life how things circle back around. Moved to Plymouth and live on my street, which coincidentally now, who I more or less lived at the riverfront of the Post for years downtown. Now there's a Post right in the street I live on, and Jenna's like, "You have to be kidding me!"
It's a chef's kiss. It's absolutely.
I've come full circle, baby.
Yeah.
I'm back in the saddle.
All right, Vin Herrera asks, did either of you have a flu game / broadcast? If so, how did you do? Did it compare to Michael Jordan's flu game, which I think he had a terrific game while he was battling the flu?
Where we weren't feeling good?
Yeah. Now, your flu is a little bit different than the standard influenza, I think.
Yeah, a couple times for sure. Like losing your voice and not feeling good. But once again, you always have the halls. I try and bring them, but my
cough drops,
my memory is half and half. So sometimes I have them, sometimes I don't. And sometimes I would say last year, probably 5 times, not feeling too great. But I drink a coffee.
I mean, to those listening and watching.
What are you talking? Like I'm sick or we're hungover?
I'm talking. You've never shown up saying, "Boy, I feel great today." You've never shown up saying, "I feel great today." It's always, "Boy, I'm not 100%. I don't feel so good today. I'm tired. I got this. My arm hurts." There are never any days where you feel like you're 100%. And I'm much older than you.
And I think a lot of that has to do with where I'm going. I know I'm going to work with you. So it's already put me in that mindset of, oh, damn it, I don't feel sharp. I don't feel great. Now I'm driving downtown. I'm stuck in traffic because we know how much I like traffic.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck in that parkade. I'm spiraling around. I'm on floor like 7. Then I got to come down and I get stuck in security. So it's just hard to even get in there.
Yeah.
And by that point now I'm mad and I'm not happy. I'm like those 2 guys from the Muppets up top, and and then I see you, which makes it worse. So, but yeah, 5 times for sure. Not feeling great.
To that point, Deanna Nelson asks, this is for both of you. Tell us fans the one thing that you like about each other. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I would say for you, how prepared you are and your sense of humor. Because one, I've gotten better at it. My preparation isn't top notch at all moments in time. And
I can't believe you got all those words out in a row. Sometimes my preparation isn't top notch.
No.
What are we talking about?
Sometimes
the Open is playing before the start of the show. What are we talking about?
Have you read your emails?
Oh.
No, I haven't. I'm not good with emails either. Have you seen your text? No, I haven't seen my text. And then we piece it all together. The last 10 minutes, I'm scrambling up there. Where our set was now, there's a lot of fans around asking questions. So I'm kind of doing both, but every time we kind of figure it out. But those would be the 2 things. Sense of humor, make me relax. For sure, we speak of that often, where you feel at home. So those 2 things, sense of humor and your preparation.
What Red Wings game will be the most memorable for you? That's from Corey Flynn.
Coming up or before? Which game?
Yeah, which game
coming up
that you either played in or recalled or as a broadcaster? What Red Wings game is the most memorable for you?
I'd say played in 08 winning.
Sure.
09 because you remember not winning. Game 7 at home, which is more memorable than 08 because you wish you
Isn't that sad? I mean,
it's crazy, because disappointing.
You remember the more disappointing
You're
night.
at Game 7, you're up in the series 2-0, you think you're going to win, you're up 3-2, going back to have a chance to win. So, yeah, that would be, one would be excitement of winning, and the other disappointment. So it's a shame you do remember 09 a little more than 08. Kind of the same finish. For me, not playing in Red Wing games,
How about March 26th of 1997?
Yeah, that was good.
The town was on fire.
Yeah, I do remember those games. Those are great as well. The Avalanche, obviously, that rivalry which we spoke of so many times. But I would say my next favorite game would be if the Red Wings make the playoffs, their playoff game downtown, because I was down there when the Pistons had their playoff game this year. The atmosphere is great, people everywhere, the arena. So I really look forward to, and it's a great venue for playoffs. It really is. So I'm hoping for that. The Tigers proved that last year again. So hopefully my next great event will be for the Red Wings, will be their first playoff game. Back in the playoffs.
Okay. Scott Melvin is posing a question to me, actually. Yes. I'm always interested in hearing everyone's story regarding how and where they started in the business. Give us the play-by-play of the early days and even before. Mm-hmm. So my story is, and I think you've heard some of this, is that I knew from the time that I was about 10 years of age that I wanted to get into radio. To the great dismay of many people, I ended up on television as well. But got into radio in Grand Rapids and then television in Grand Rapids, and then from there to Denver, and was actually working with the Avalanche for a year before I came back to Detroit. So I had 3 cups in a row, the 96 won by the Avalanche and 97 and 98 by the Red Wings. And I thought I was the lucky child.
You had it made.
It was all me.
Yeah, you thought you go wherever you wanted, you're just going to continue to win, which obviously you figured that's not the way it is. But that's when you're on the radio dial, right? Your old car radio dial, and you're listening to the radio, which is huge because sometimes you get it, sometimes you wouldn't. And obviously, you didn't have power windows; you had to crank them up and down, and no power steering. So,
well, I mean, and I started as a disc jockey on top 40 radio station, Z96 in Grand Rapids,
top like 20 countdowns.
Oh, absolutely,
really,
playing the hits, and as I'm driving still, and you'll appreciate this because it's music from that era. This would have been. Oh, boy, this would have been 1978, 79. I am, and if I'm playing those songs today, if I'm those songs come up on the radio, I can still hit the post.
Who accumulates the top 20? You would?
No, that would be the program directors and record companies. And there was so much shadiness attached to the radio industry back then because record companies were paying program directors to get their songs
on the radio. Because that was the only way to get them out there.
I kind of learned that part of it. So, all right. Let's see. What 3 former or present NHL players would you like to sit down and have a ginger ale with?
3 former or present?
Or present. You get three names.
Okay. I can go anywhere with this?
Yeah.
I would say Wayne Gretzky.
Okay.
Which I grew up watching Edmonton.
Sure.
Which I got a chance to at the airport in Florida. He was traveling through there.
Had a beer with him?
He's probably a nervous flyer like me, so we find ourselves in the same spot. But he is a former. He is a Canadian just like myself. But I won't go any farther than that.
Okay.
But I don't get nervous around a lot of people. I was then because I grew up idolizing him. My dad had season tickets, watching him play, clamoring for Wayne Gretzky cards when I was younger.
But he knows you. You're a big deal.
Yeah, he knew he was
there
with his son, and he was talking hockey. He met my son, so it was fantastic. So Wayne Gretzky for sure would have been one of them. I've golfed behind Gordie Howe, so I've already done all that. Very fortunate for that. That was a great day we had in Traverse City at training camp, and we had it there. So I'd have to go completely somewhere else. So present and former. So I get 2 more. I would say growing up, present would be now retired Marc-Andre Fleury. Played against him, younger, personality's great.
Great smile.
Kind of like has meshed old school with new school, lasted a long time playing. Had a fantastic this year in Minnesota. For sure, just to meet him, and he's a player that a lot of young kids should look up to for longevity, lasting. Played in the playoffs. Then he didn't play in the playoffs when Murray went in, so everybody thinks it was easy for him, but it never was. He fought for everything he was given. I would say the third, would be probably Grant Fuhr. Grew up watching him.
He was your guy, right?
Yeah, he was my guy. Edmonton Oilers goalie, huge saves, played against the Russians in a lot of Canada Cups. Guy let in a lot of goals, though, but always made the big saves when he had to. Reminds me of somebody I know. But got a chance. Grant Fuhr, a great golfer, unlike I used to be, but not anymore. That's why Ken Holland moved me to the division he moved me to. But it's Grand Fear for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I can name a lot, but
that's good.
Those
Yeah.
would be the three, sticking with more goalies than not.
All right, we want to bring in Ken Daniels, the voice of the Wings, but one more, and we'll continue.
I like this segment.
Yeah,
Why
I
don't we
know,
just
I know
more
you
often?
do. Yeah, because you're talking about you, which is your favorite subject. Which of your teammates from your time with the Wings would you trust to babysit your children? That is from Griffin Decker.
Griffin Decker. That sounds like a lineman in football. It's a great name, like a great tight end in the NFL. Griffin Decker for 10 or something like that. That's what they say. Draper for sure, 100%. Now Draper babysitted me at the riverfront. He was my roommate for years.
Right. We've
Floor
gone down,
14.
we've gone down that
We've
rabbit
gone
hole.
that road.
Yeah,
So
right.
this is an obvious thing. I was not good at doing a lot of things. One was paying bills, so he did that. Another was doing a lot of things that needed to be done that I wasn't sure. I'm from Medicine, Alberta, 20,000 people. Drapes, who is, he's very structured.
We're going to get him on here. He's got stories to share.
We have to get Drapes. We're asking him. He'll get around to it. He's a busy man with his fitness. I believe he had
pickleball.
His pickleball. Who
All right, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Okay.
But Drapes for sure. He's like Chuck Norris. He's on everything. He's
all right.
He's
who
for
else?
Sure. More?
Yeah. To babysit your children. Who was a good dad in the of the teammates?
Doug Brown for sure. Doug Brown, who was his wife is
he married well.
Wellington Mara, who owned the Giants.
Right.
Now that my memory's really getting sharp today, I'm on again. And but very structured. I say son played a little bit in the NHL.
He did.
Yeah. He's doing great, and he was a little guy when he was here. But Doug Brown was always real organized, real structured. If your manners weren't even proper, which sometimes they weren't at the back of the plane, Doug would correct us because he was back there with me, Drapes, Kevin Hodgson. So he was right in the mosh pit of us.
Right.
Back in our heyday. Maltby was back there. So Doug Brown for sure.
Okay. One more from Michelle Eaton.
Yeah.
As an 80s music junkie,
Yeah.
what would Ozzy have had on his game day playlist back in the 90s?
Motley Crue, Kickstart Your Heart, for sure. Driving from Medicine Hat to Swift Current in my old Walkman, yellow headset, Kickstart Your Heart, about 10 minutes away from the arena, always when I was on the road in the Western Hockey League.
Every day? Every game?
Every game. Because there's no staying overnight. You bust that day.
Right.
And you played. So you'd get up, you'd have your tracksuit on, you'd maybe have a nap and put your Walkman on, hope the batteries were charged enough or you had enough, and Kickstart Your Heart by Motley Crue would get you going.
And who else? What other artists of that generation?
Def Leppard.
So you're a hard rocker. I mean, you're a
Yeah, I was then.
You're a headbanger.
Yeah, a headbanger. Like
yeah. Wouldn't
not like a Megadeth or like
no.
I like Metallica.
No, yeah,
for sure. I mean, that's great. But then, or you always go to those '80s, like what do you call them? What do they call them? Stadium hits. Remember those?
Right. Yeah.
So a couple of those were in there too, for sure. But the main one, I love Motley Crue then, for sure. Motley Crue, then Def Leppard.
How about a Michael Bolton? Just drop that in from,
no,
because
now I can't go Michael Bolton because he's a lot like, now I can't remember his name, Bryan Adams. So Bryan Adams, when I'm Canadian, being Canadian, it's a tie, Michael Bolton and Bryan. I have to go with Bryan Adams.
Yeah. I mean, Bryan Adams was solid. I mean, and played great in concert. Didn't have a lot of interaction, just like to play. I mean, there wasn't a lot of back and forth with the.
Your favorite song, Summer of '69.
All right, we'll
play that on your way home today.
Ken Daniels will join us on the other side of a break. More of Ozzy and Keats in a skosh. Hey, Grand Valley State University is filling Michigan's talent pipeline. Graduates of the state's third largest university are moving Michigan forward with more than 86% of GVSU alumni working in and strengthening our state in well-paying careers. It's no wonder that in a recent survey, Michigan business leaders chose Grand Valley as the most excellent school in the state. Learn more at gvsu.edu/impact. Welcome back. Ozzy and Keats continues, and we're happy to be joined by one member of our esteemed broadcast crew, the legendary voice of the Red Wings, Ken Daniels. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining our little clubhouse here.
You guys are better than just okay. You guys are great.
You think so?
Well, the guests that you're getting, not me, the guests that you've had already, really, you both do an outstanding job, and it's a very enjoyable listen. It really is.
Okay, well, let's go back to the beginning, because I was at Pass, which is the precursor to Fox Sports Detroit, and they had a different play-by-play announcer named Mike Goldberg, and so they decided they were going to make a change, and you were going to be the person, and you were unavailable for the first game in the history of Fox Sports Detroit. Tell that story, if you would.
Well, they were working on my visa, and if I backtrack to that, my dad was born in Toledo and lived there until he was 8. And I came in 97. In 1993, while I was working for Hockey Night, my dad said, I'm going to regain my citizenship, just in case you ever want to go. I said, well, okay. And I hadn't had thought of it. I was with Hockey Night in Canada. That was my dream. Then 97, the Red Wing offer came up. So it worked well that it enhanced the effort for the green card. But at that point, I didn't have my visa yet. I remember being in Detroit at 220, or as we called it, 2trendy, the restaurant.
We were just talking about bars and restaurants. Yeah, that's funny.
My ears are burning.
It's a theme. We continue the theme. You weren't even here, and we're talking about restaurants.
He knows.
Oh, I know you too, and you're always right here. And I was with Rob Carr, who's still with the Red Wings, and their attorney and their counsel. And he said, you have to go home. I was out for dinner there with my then wife. And you have to go home because we need to prove that no one else can do what you do. And I said, well, many can prove what I can do. Yeah, but you're coming from Canada, so I had to go home. Luckily, I kept scrapbooks. So I went home. We flew home that night, got the scrapbooks, and brought them back. And they, it tried to get the visa going, but we couldn't get it done in time. So Doc Emmerich
was the first. Yeah.
The first. I don't know if he did the first one or first two. They introduced me. I think I was on as we came on camera, but I wasn't allowed to speak during the game. So I came on like a guest, and I couldn't speak. And Doc did the game, or one or two he did.
What did you know of Mickey Redmond before you guys became partners?
Well, Mickey Redmond, I remember because his anniversary when he got married to Arlene was September 11th. I didn't know much about Mickey, but the first time I spoke with him right after I got the job and I called him, he said, yeah, we're getting married September 11th. I don't know if you can get down here or not, but we're doing a big pig roast. And that's the first I learned, okay, this is what's happening at the Redmond place out on a farm when he was marrying Arlene. I didn't know much about Mickey, except that when I'd come to Detroit, when I was doing Toronto Maple Leafs radio and we'd be at Joe Louis Arena, I would occasionally have cigarettes. I don't know why when you do play-by-play, you'd have that raspy voice, right. And just made a little raspy. And I liked.
How long did you smoke?
How long? Off and on? From probably 1984, 83, 84 until 1997, November of 97 when I came here. Yeah. That's another story we can tell. However, when I used to come to the Joe, I used to bum Marlboros off him because I was smoking De Maurier Special Mild King-size light. I think they were the gray package.
Were you guys smoking up top?
Oh, were we smoking?
During the game?
Oh, I've got so many stories about smoking up top. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Which wasn't allowed.
God. Well, now at the end of the Joe, they were smoking weed in the stands. I remember Mike Green on the ice, and I said during play-by-play, I said, well, there's a lot of green going on up here. Mickey started to laugh because we knew, because the weed was just coming up. Anyway, where was it? Yeah, so I used to bum cigarettes off Mickey. I used to bum Marlboros off Mick, and that's when I knew him. And how Mickey and I, it was sort of not a friendship. We knew one another. And then when I was calling, which turned out to be the last series I did for Hockey Night, I did the first round, Ottawa, Buffalo, 97. Then Buffalo won in overtime. Derek Plant scored the goal. And then I was doing Buffalo, Philly, and the late, great Dave Strader walked into the booth because he was doing ESPN International for the second round with Mickey. And he said, Ken, this would have been May, where they're letting the guy go in Detroit. Mickey wants you to send your tape in. So that's really how it happened.
Pretty good. That's a pretty good recommendation.
Yeah, and the next day I was driving back with the late, great Greg Millen, who was my broadcast partner, whom we just lost. And his driver, Fred, we were going the series back and forth, and I was driving back with Greg to Toronto, and I had to get back early the next morning because I was in the movie The Philadelphia
phenomenon
yeah.
with
Yes.
Tony Danza. We were
Yes.
shooting at Skydome. So I had to
Philadelphia
get
Eagles, right?
Yes,
Yeah, right.
yeah, they won the Super Bowl, and he was a garbage
I mean,
collector.
how many people can claim that they were in a Tony Danza movie other than you? I mean, that's
Met
pretty
him the
big
next day.
stuff. Yeah.
Had some speaking lines, and here further to that story. So a few years later, I'm at the Joe morning skate, and it had just come out, and Jeff O'Neill, who I didn't know, and I've become friendly with now, O-Dog, and Jeff O'Neill's doing the morning skate, skating around, and I didn't know him at all. And I'm standing on the visitor bench at the Joe, and Jeff says, "You're the guy." And he skates around, does another lap, and I said, "I'm the guy. What are you talking about?" "I saw you on TV last night on that Disney movie in my hotel room." Holy cow, that was my introduction to O-Dog, because I was in a Tony Danza movie. It never got to theaters. It went to VHS. So I do have a copy of that, thankfully, with the picture
that's
on
cool.
it. And so anyway, that's how Mickey, and then I applied for the Red Wing job. When I got back to Toronto, I called my agent, and he got tapes into the Red Wings, and thanks to Mickey, and really didn't get hired until September of '97, because the unfortunate limo accident.
Right.
So when I saw that on CTV News in Toronto in my home in June, after the Red Wings win the Stanley Cup, and I thought, this is going to be a while, because the Red Wings have many more important things to worry about than me. So I really didn't get hired until, I think, September 6th.
It was a scramble for them to get on the air, because we were shifting from past to Fox Sports Detroit, and so all of those things were involved.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Ken's much more prepared than you are, judging from Light the Lamp the last 2 seasons. So we can attest to that's a fact.
Jeez, I
not
should have brought
fiction.
the trophy.
Oh, you should have brought the trophy.
Yeah.
That would have
But I
been, yeah.
Like, I love when
I'm actually surprised you didn't. I mean, we would have put it right there. Would have.
You know
been,
what?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
an absolute clinic the last 2 years by one Ken Daniels for sure. And speaking of clinics, your calls on like so many great calls. Patrick Kane, overtime, fantastic. But over the years, do you have one specific favorite one that maybe we don't know about?
Well, that one might be it now.
Yes,
It has to be.
Has to
right?
be.
I mean, it really
I mean, it was
has
spectacular.
To be. The circumstances were perfect, and you just absolutely nailed it.
Oh, thank you.
And we just learned that that show has won an Emmy.
Is it won or nominated?
Did it win?
It won because it was the only nominated.
Excellent.
The only nominee in the category.
Thank you.
And
Can I
so you won an Emmy, and so did you.
It had no choice.
Thank you.
but-
You too.
I didn't do much.
Are you not on that?
I'm on that.
You're on it. Well,
I'm
congrats
that.
to you.
One last Emmy, but
that's
yes, but
great.
but enough about that. So your call was spectacular. Just and and you were in the building. We were in the studio. But what was the atmosphere like on Patrick Kane night and Shelley getting his number retired and all of that?
It was great. And I had talked to Patrick a few days before we left for Chicago. And I said, your introduction in the video, I said, you've got to do a lap. And he was surprised by that. And he said, you think? I said, yes, you have to do a lap. That crowd's going to love you. Now, when
He was unsure of the reaction he was going to get,
Yeah, and I said, yeah. And he came out, and when he actually did the lap, so I knew, and this is when he was introduced, not the end of the game. He only did it through center ice. I actually thought he should do the whole ice. We didn't get that into it. But I thought he'd do the whole ice, so I knew a lap was coming, and he very much appreciated that. And then in overtime, when it's set up so beautifully, and that's what's so great about Mick, when he jumped in with the "oh my God," it was absolutely perfect, where just the pauses there, and then shoving Jake Wallman out of the way quicker than Steve Yzerman did, just moving him out of the way. and Wallman, get out of here. I want to celebrate. Showtime. And the greatest part of that for me was my daughter was next to me in the booth with her fiance, Zach.
Beautiful.
And as I'm making the call, I looked over at her and she looked at me. And that's when I had said the story, Patrick Kane's return to Chicago is complete. And I was looking at her when I said it. And, when he gave a fist bump. So really my thoughts went right to her as I'm saying it. It was so cool. She was there. Sometimes, you're in the moment. You don't take in the moment.
Yeah.
I took in that moment.
Yeah. That's cool.
It was great. It was a lot of fun. So that would be my favorite. The other one would have been, I guess, maybe Pavel Datsyuk, against Dallas. With, when Brett Hull set him up.
Yeah.
Pavel Datsyuk again against Nashville, end-to-end. I was doing that game
with Murph. And there's one that always stands out, I think, with 1.2 seconds left, the home opener, Steve Yzerman scored against the Los Angeles Kings to win the game at Joe Louis Arena. That's another one. I don't know why that sticks out. Some do, like Henrik Zetterberg late in the game, better hurry, and he does, and he scores the goal, and it's you can nail that.
Yeah, and the Perron goal in Ottawa, and just the ending of
Montreal.
In Montreal, right. Yeah,
you know what's weird about that? When I didn't expect, sometimes you think about it.
Yeah, expecting
you
that.
don't. And even in overtime, going into Patrick Kane, I hadn't thought about it, like Patrick Kane's going to score in overtime. Overtime just takes on its own thing.
Sure.
If you're in a Stanley Cup playoff game and you go and you're about to win a series, I know as a play-by-play guy, I'm sort of prepared what I might say if the Red Wings win or the other team wins or you're ousted that night. With the Kane thing and overtime happens so fast, I never even thought of that. Never gave that one a thought.
But that had to be the strangest circumstance because they force overtime and then find out that the game matters not at all. And Washington,
right.
This would have been a season ago that the Wings had put themselves in a position to find the playoffs, and Washington.
And you guys were watching on TV, weren't you? Because in the boxes they have TV, so. Weren't you and Mick saw the empty netter go in?
No, we didn't see it go in. There were 7 seconds left in that game, and the point off the icing, and Dylan Larkin's taking the face off. And honestly, I didn't even think we'd score. I just thought,
the chances
we're done.
are so slim.
So when Perron actually scored, and there's no better place outside of LCA to call a game than Montreal. I absolutely love to call a game in Montreal. We modeled LCA after Montreal. It's a little bit higher than the gondola in Montreal, but the atmosphere, the place to call it. Perron scores with 3 seconds left off the draw. And I was speechless. I know you guys might find that hard for the first time, but I really was. And I went down on the ground, and I was on my knees, and I said, wow. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. And I'm holding my head. And then I guess Mickey said whatever he said. Now we go to the break for overtime, and we're looking at the monitor. Delayed is Philadelphia and Washington in a delay. So I haven't seen the goal go in yet. It was 30 seconds later when our great stats guy, Zach Zoller, says in my ear, they just scored into an empty net. Was it Oshie?
Yeah.
Just scored into an empty net. Damn.
Torts had to pull the goalie.
Yeah,
and it
so
was
we knew we were
the
done.
Timing, it was
And there was
impeccable.
a delay in that game, too, because of a review, which would have, I don't know
if
if
it was
would have
ahead
made
of time,
much.
he wouldn't have pulled the goalie.
Yeah. So anyway, I believe Torts when he said he didn't know, my better-looking older brother, Torts. I do believe that. They didn't know. But, that went from the high of highs and 30 seconds later in actual time to us finding out didn't matter.
All right, we're going to get into some other things in a second. But before we go to a break, you had some say in what the press box and the gondola would look like at Little Caesars Arena. So when they were constructing this place, you and Mickey you had your opinions to share that.
And we thank them very much because Chris Illich kept us involved. More Mickey than me. I mean, Mickey had a hard hat on. He loves that. Yeah, he's not building houses. He's down there building Little Caesars Arena. So, they were taking his input more than mine, but I have a book that's so big, and we wanted on the table where it comes out to and where we should be and how big our booth could be or we say gondola, not booth, how big our gondola would be so people can come up and visit and the sight line. When we were in Montreal the year prior, when Chris Illich said, well, you tell us what you want, we wanted a gondola. And Chris kept telling us the gondola is still in, it's still in. And Mickey, when we were in Montreal, he would drop a piece of string down and I would send it down to him. He went down to the stairs in Montreal in the lower bowl. We would measure how far up we were. To Montreal. And then Mickey, of course, only Mickey could do because of construction and knows how long each step is down to the ice and how far we back. We call an offset from the near boards, offset to where the gondola will be, how far back you are. So we measured all that out. We wound up being pretty close to how far back we are, but we're about 10 feet higher. And I remember Mickey saying to me,
"You're sour about that."
A little bit. Well, it's not. It's still a great spot. No, it really is. It's a great spot. And Mickey said to me, how come when I'm standing right here where we should be in the gondola and I'm looking out, I can't see the near boards to where our desk is, where your book's going to fit? And I said, I think we went higher than we did on our estimate. It wasn't really a big deal. It's still a great spot.
That was Montreal.
But that's how Mickey measured Montreal to LCA.
That was Montreal where you were not feeling too good prior to the game. I
sent him down.
The thing with the LCA compared to Montreal is the LCA is easier to get around.
Oh, yeah.
I can say.
Yeah.
Montreal is hard to get around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nooks and crannies.
So who's feeling ill here?
Ken was feeling
I
ill.
was.
And it's his fault?
No.
No, it was his fault that he didn't help me feel better right away.
Yeah, it was during COVID, wasn't it? No, it wasn't.
No, it was right. Oh, you know what? It may have been right at sort of COVID was still going on, but we were back there. We got to Montreal, and during dinner, for some reason, something hit me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling well. And I went up to the gondola. Nothing worse than, the green apple two steps coming.
You were there prior to me, which usually beats me to there, and then I get lost behind him.
Yeah.
And it takes me a little while to find where I'm going, but then I end up there eventually.
We get up in the gondola, and I'm not feeling very well. And it's one of those where you're going to be sick. And it happened to be once doing Leaf Radio back in the early 90s. But anyway, so I go up to the gondola in Montreal, and I'm not feeling very well. And I said to Ozzy, my mistake, can you go down and get me a Gravol? Have you heard of Gravol?
No.
It's a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
But you can get ginger Gravol, and it settles your stomach, it really does. It can tire you out a little bit, but I figure I'll be running on adrenaline to call the game anyway. I just don't need it coming out where you don't want it to come out.
Okay.
So can you go get me a Gravol? Well, he's so long gone.
This podcast has gone in that direction for so long.
I know.
He sends me to get it.
Yeah,
okay.
which was, and then I don't know how many people he spoke to or saw a squirrel on the way. Brian Henry.
I did a lap around the concourse because I thought if I went out, I could go. Now, if
saw a
you've ever
squirrel.
been to Montreal, it's one of the best laps in the concourse in the national.
Because
hockey.
you're people watching.
Oh, yeah.
I'm people watching.
Right.
And in the old forum in Montreal, every man, woman, and child had a butt in their mouth.
Yeah,
They're
and
all
then I
smoking.
couldn't find an elevator to get me down to where the
my
dress.
God.
So I'm like, okay, the bench is there. I know the room's behind there. So I went down the stairs, locked in once, found another staircase, go down there, and I go and now the players are getting ready for the game. Now it's getting close, so I don't want
It
to
was close, yeah.
bother anybody. So I'm like asking one of the trainers, can you go get Peter or Russ to come out here?
Yeah.
What do you need? I go, the exact same thing you gave me during training camp when I wasn't feeling great. Give me the same thing. Ken's down.
I'm down, and while
Man
he's
down.
gone, Brian Henry, who's what, 6'8", 6'7", whatever he is, our great producer.
yeah.
He came upstairs and he looks at me, and I'm on the floor curled up in a ball
done.
with a garbage can right next to me.
Yeah.
And Brian Henry looks down, and I'm on the ground short enough as it is, but even lying down. And Brian Henry says, do I need to call a paramedic? And I said, no, I think I'll be okay. And they had Trevor next to me just in case.
Yeah.
They did the opener, whatever we did that night, and the game started. I got up off the floor, called the game,
Gamer.
went
Just a
back
gamer.
down on the floor. Trevor could tell you. Trevor goes, that was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. Went down on the floor, curled up again, 90-second commercial break, went back up and kept calling.
I remember being sour. You just wouldn't join us on the post-game show. That's all I remember from that night.
Oh, on the post
On the post-game show. Where's Daniels? Why can't we get him on the post-game?
Yeah,
oh, no, he's too big for that. He
That's
won't
right.
join you, yeah.
But we got back on Redbird, whatever it was, 2 or whatever, 3, and they gave me the area they cleared out so I could lie down, and the team was wonderful. And then the next game we had at Little Caesars, Trevor pregame, he went home because he was sick. So there was something going around.
You guys make each other ill. That's
we
what
do.
it comes
We make
down
each
to.
other ill.
All right, we'll take a break. And one of the things that we wanted to talk to Ken Daniels about is the terrific work being done by the Jamie Daniels Foundation. We'll get to that next as Ozzy and Keats continues in a moment. Rosenaw is the largest power sports dealer in the Tri-County area. And as we go into summer, they carry all 3 brands of PWC, Sea-Doo, Yamaha, and Kawasaki with huge rebates or promo financing available. Call 313-278-5000 to take advantage while supplies last. All right, Ozzy and Keats continues. We're not great. We're just okay, but we're better than okay because Ken Daniels has joined us. And aside from the sensational work you do as the voice of the Red Wings on what had been Fox Sports Net and then Valley Sports Detroit and now FanDuel Sports Network, you're also doing great work to raise awareness about drug usage because of the tragedy that befell you and your family. Without going into too much detail, take us through the legacy of Jamie Daniels.
Well, Jamie passed December 7th of 2016, given a pill while he was in so-called sober rehab, 228 days of sobriety. And those days matter because it's a lifetime once you get into sobriety. And he was studying for his LSATs in Florida, working as a clerk in a law firm, living in a home that we came to find out because, as we say, if we only knew back in 2015 and 16 what we know now, this wouldn't have happened, which is why we speak out to let others do their due diligence. But it was the Florida Shuffle back then. You opened up sober homes because you could under the War Veterans Act, where there were no checks on anything. And there were many homes that just weren't sober, and we didn't know that at the time. So he moved into a sober home, which basically offered very cheap rent while he was working, and they enticed you because they send you then to doctors, which is called patient brokering, who send out your lab work to be done. And the lab work, for one example, Jamie peeing in a cup was $17,000. And when I started getting these bills, and some have been built for millions of dollars, we called Blue Cross Blue Shield. They dealt with us. We got in touch with the FBI, and we were working all on this. And then Jamie feeling better about himself because that doctor that he was seeing, so they could send in all the lab work and get paid for it, put him on a generic form of Xanax. And no one should put a recovering addict on Xanax. So Jamie, feeling a little better about himself, I guess, feeling good, was in the home, should have known to take nothing, and I'm not absolving Jamie, should have known to take nothing from the work that he had done, but he did, and that pill that he took was laced with fentanyl, and he died in his sleep.
Okay, and from that tragedy, and we have spoken of it with you many times, as we've all sort of embraced you and your family. The work that you've done is fantastic. How much money and beyond that awareness has the Jamie Daniels Foundation been responsible for?
The awareness is great. We're in 11 Michigan colleges now, and we hope to take it wider with full-time recovery coaches and safe living in dorms, certainly at Michigan State. And the tailgate parties, which are of sobriety, and the things that we do, and just people that you can talk to. And we also have the Jamie Daniels Memorial Scholarship. So if someone has to leave at Michigan State to go to rehab, you have that to cover some tuition costs. So over time, and I hate giving the dollars because you think, boy, they've raised so much money. Yeah, no, we need lots more to continue to do what we do. And we're in elementary schools now in Oakland County and beyond, teaching kids coping skills like yoga. And the response that we have got from the school boards has been unbelievable because the teachers learn it, the kids learn it. And it's not just about turning to drugs or drinking. It's also about bullying and other things, just how you cope. And the kids now, and we're going into the grade school now and teaching these kids in the program. So overall, through what we've done and the roast that we have done, the comedy nights we've done, the breakfasts we have done, speaking engagements, and what others are doing now, golf tournaments, giving us the money. So we've raised, since 2018, when someone said, you have to start a foundation, and we did in Jamie's name, we've raised more than $2 million. Wow. So it's really been remarkable. It's a lot of work. We thank the Children's Foundation for what they do, and Chris Perry, our executive director. And we always tell people, use our story. Use our story, how it didn't work for us because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But we know what we're doing now. And if you want to scare your kids, say, look what happened to Jamie Daniels, go ahead. After Jamie passed, guys, I used to say, people would recognize me somewhere. They say, oh, it's the Red Wings guy. And then, that first year or two, and I was thinking, and people would come up to me and talk, oh, that's the guy, he lost his son. And somehow that warms my heart in a weird way because, yeah, I did. But if you can prevent losing yours or even a grandparent, anything, to get them, take the pills out of the house, kids will go, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds, they'll go into grandpa or grandma's medicine cabinet and find those pills because they had a shoulder surgery or a knee surgery, and they'll find Vicodin and other things that are in there. And as Jamie was, you can be hooked within 5 days. Yeah. So clear that stuff out, dispose of it safely.
All right. Well, congratulations on all of that. Is he the successor to Mickey Redmond? Is Chris Osgood the guy who follows Mickey Redmond as your
could be if he
partner?
wants to be. If he wants to do more games, I love working with him. And
no, you don't.
I do.
You don't.
No, I do. When I make sure he's there, I need someone to make sure he gets up to
whenever I just switch the schedule, I'll call the powers to be because I got to arrange my schedule.
Oh, God.
And right away, why aren't you doing that game?
Right.
Why aren't you there?
It's like herding cats.
I know it's
awful.
It is like herding. But because the more reps you do, and believe me, remember how quiet he used to be?
I know. I know.
Yeah.
When I first started?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's just projecting, and the more he does, and I don't worry about him going into the game because he actually does some homework. That's important.
What?
Yeah,
yes,
it
is.
That would be different from his pregame duties.
Maybe.
We're in the hotel room. Usually we're pretty close. We're on the same floor. they keep us away from the players.
Yes.
I'll call him a couple times in the afternoon. Now, I'm not, as Ken has everything written down.
Yeah.
And because my eyes are worse, he has a couple of stories. He goes, "Is this story? I can't see the story. I can't see the story." Right. And he's talking about something. And then our great producer, Henry, who likes to talk.
Oh, yeah.
He sounds
Yeah,
like
he does,
Chewbacca
yeah.
sometimes from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Mayor and I have no idea what I'm talking about, so I got to make it up. But I do.
Wait, you make up stuff on TV?
No, it's all real. Sometimes doing play-by-play is way different than being at the desk with him. It's. I find sometimes I write down too much stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff I write down, I never use. It's real time stuff during the course of a game.
I have maintained
Yeah.
in my the broadcasting career that is no more now. It's much easier to be the play-by-play guy because the game comes to you.
Yes.
The tough part is filling that half hour, or it used to be an hour.
Well, you know what the toughest part is now? The air conditioning in these buildings because of the ice. If you're not dressed
It's
appropriately,
cold. Remember in Los Angeles that night we were there
Yeah.
because you're down in the suites right below it and the air duct
You're-
is right over top.
Yeah, that one especially. Yeah,
it was
I've
horrible.
been in that. Yeah.
He had his gloves on and he's got the warmers in his gloves
got
and a
everything.
jacket. I didn't bring my jacket in.
Yeah.
I had forgot at whatever it is,
Yeah.
crypto.com now, whatever.
Yeah.
And I had to go into the radio booth where their guy actually had a heater. And I was lying down next to the heater in the radio. Daniela Bruce was there that night,
Yeah.
and I moved her out so I could lie. I was freezing. And I told them the Kings this year, and they were great. They got us a heater. I said, honestly, and I told Brian Henry, I'm not doing the game unless we get a heater in that booth.
Vegas
And we
was
did.
If I hear
62.
Brian Henry's name on this podcast
No,
one
I'm
more
sorry.
time, I'm going to take a hostage. I mean, honest to God. I mean,
Yes.
he's okay. He's fine.
No,
but,
he's great. He's not just okay.
Yeah, okay. Where is the worst arena to broadcast a game from?
Anaheim.
Edmonton and
Edmonton?
Anaheim.
Well, Edmonton, you're far away.
Oh, you're in another area code.
And if they were,
Edmonton is
it's ridiculous.
depending on the jerseys they
for
wore.
for a brand new building. That,
Yes,
yeah.
and I knew it was coming too.
Well,
Their guys told me you're going to hate the.
You're in
Why
Red
would you
Deer.
do that?
You're in Red Deer an hour. You're by the
You are.
airport.
You're
where the
guessing.
airport is Edmonton.
Right.
You've traveled that road lots hungover after you're at Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Sherlock
Holmes,
Holmes
a
here.
legendary
It's a good
spot.
spot.
And then it's
Edmonton.
an hour to the airport if people know. So that Edmonton's tough.
Edmonton is awful. And when I called the game there, Detroit game for NBC, I think it was a Detroit game in Edmonton. Did the Ray Ferraro, and they had us down low because you're the network and you can in there.
Right.
When you're like the third guy in, if there's a network side by side,
lucky
and the
to
home
be in the
team,
building,
home
yeah.
team's down low. We're up there, so I hate going to Edmonton.
San Jose?
Oh, I love San Jose. San Jose is a little rickety where you're up top. We used to be down low in San Jose,
Yeah.
and then they moved us up top. No, that's okay.
San Jose's old
Winnipeg's
school.
great, except for the girder right next to you. You have to move around where the big concrete girder is going out. You can adjust your seat, but you're close to the ice. The old Winnipeg Arena used to be over the ice. I used to watch Teemu Selanne when I was doing Leaf Radio or a hockey night game in Winnipeg. They'd be skating underneath you. It was great.
Yeah, that's
you
great.
couldn't remember when we were in Arizona at
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
college campus, and I said, we're so close. You're like 10 rows off the
the
ice,
best.
12 rows. It was the best. And I said to Ozzy, I remember putting it up on Instagram, and I said to Ozzy, I said, look how close we are. We couldn't screw up here, could we? And he said, yes, we can. So that was out there. See,
Wait, there
that's
was hockey in Arizona? I don't remember that at all.
it'll be back there again. Wait for it.
I know.
It'll be back
I
there.
know.
So those
Yeah.
Edmonton's the worst, probably in Anaheim. You're right, because the booth is so small in Anaheim.
There's no room.
There's no
no
room
room.
in Anaheim. There's no room. But yeah.
Hey, it's been great. First of all, being your partner. I mean, you and I were
Yeah.
together for as long as you and Mick were together.
28 years.
28 years. Yeah.
28
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Too long, most
Wow.
people would say.
No.
And congratulations on Light the Lamp. So just to sort of stick it to me as I was stepping away, just
You
like
won
yeah,
it.
you won.
You
I
won it.
won it once back
Won it
in
once.
back in '71. I think it was a
We're
while
doing Light
ago.
the Lamp
so,
a long
yeah.
time
That
since
was
then.
we've been doing it that long.
No.
Now the goal judge can't even light the lamp because he's at the top of the damn building, not behind the net.
Oh yeah, and they're
So I don't know,
critiquing
we're
shots
just-
and
yeah,
I would have
shots.
drove
Well,
me
and
nuts
as we
if
get
they-
older, it's tougher to light the lamp than
It
it
is.
used to be. Yeah.
Well, let me congratulate you on a wonderful career, and trust me when I say this, it won't be the same without you. It won't, and the fun.
The viewers are delighted about that.
No,
that it
they're
won't
not.
Be the same.
And the fun that we had, and the chemistry you two had, and all of us as a group. Things change. You evolve or die. So we have to do that. But I'm just telling you, thank you for the legacy and for everything you did and the laughs we had. Because as Mickey likes to say, we like to educate and entertain and put a smile on people's faces. He puts one on mine every time I see him, and you two do as well.
Well, that's that's high praise indeed coming from you, and that's a great place to end it. Ken Daniels, our guest. We'll see you next time, everybody, on Ozzy and Keats.
Ozzy and Keats is produced by Zachary Davis and Bill McAllister and proudly distributed by Podcast Nation in Troy, Michigan.